Carl and Lou here from Games, Brains and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short, and it's track by track time. As we're going to one unusual one, I think, in the sense that it's not been done before, anything by this band, and it kind of came about because you just kept going on at me about listening to this album.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Because they're playing at Damnation. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the comments on one of the forums was the organiser of the festival, he picked out a moment in one of the songs, goes, this is the moment where we decided to book these guys.
Right.
And there was like a big old long post of like, yeah, can't wait. And I was like, well, I'm going to
What,
check
from
out
this album?
From this album.
Okay,
yeah.
see, because like, they've all got so much other stuff. Like, should the focus be on this one specific album?
No, because they have got heavier. So this is obviously this is the first album without vocals on it.
Yeah.
And if stuff before was a bit heavier, so it'll be quite an interesting kind of set at Damnation.
I think it will be, for sure, if particularly if it's focused on this album more than anything else. We are, of course, talking about Departure Songs by the band We Lost the Sea, an instrumental band who released a third LP, Departure Songs, in 2015, so it's quite modern. Initially through Birds Robe Records and Arts Catharsis Records in Australia, it was later released in Europe through Dunk Records and in North America through Translation Loss Records. This record is their first all-instrumental album and was a slight shift away from their old dynamic, partially because it's heavily affected by the loss of their vocalist, Chris Torpey, who died by suicide in 2013. Departure Songs is a concept album inspired by failed yet epic and honourable individual journeys or events throughout history where people have done extraordinary things for the greater good of those around them and the progress of the human race itself. Each song has its own story and is a soundtrack to that story with its own piece of art to illustrate the journeys within the songs. So this is one of those albums, and it is every bit what's just been described. This is one of those albums where if you don't initially know what the story or focus is, you're kind of going to want to go out of your way to find out more about it. Yeah. That's certainly what I did. Some, I think, on the title alone, you'll get. Yeah. Or if you know, you know. It's one of those things. If you know, you heard that term before, you've heard that description, you know a bit about it, you know? That was the case for a couple of me. Others I had no clue about and had to do some reading up. Something like Challenger, easy to understand, but obviously, something like The Last Dive of David Shaw, those things. But it's a short album in the sense that, unlike most track by tracks, we don't have 12 tracks to talk about here. And that does make aspects of it difficult. So it's going to be more descriptive based around each individual track because of that. So, A Gallant Gentleman. That's the first track on the album. And it pays homage to Lawrence Oates, Captain Oates, as you may have heard the term before, name before. A captain and member of the Robert Falcon Scott South Pole Expedition. Now, hopefully at this point you're like, you're getting it. The expedition tried to be the first humans in history to reach that point of the world, South Pole. They found that another team had achieved this before, leaving them no choice but to return to the base in this very bleak land. Captain Oates, the most afflicted man of the crew, he developed gangrene due to frostbite, decided to go against the words of his fellow members, and left the resting tent. So, I know nothing really about this band going into this album, and I don't do great when people are constantly going at me to listen to things, because you kind of put pressure on me, but also you're building it up in a way that can inevitably not disappoint, but maybe not have the same effect that might have on me as it would you. Okay. This track shut me up. It really did. It stopped me in my tracks. Jesus, did I find it hard not to cry here. That post melody is simply beautiful, and I get so much from it. It's sorrowful, it's hopeful, it's inspiring. It's heartbreaking but heartwarming. I almost struggle to find the words to accurately portray just how this track makes me feel. And I think there it is. I think that's the best summation I can give of the track overall. It's a track that will make you feel. The term, I'm just going outside and maybe some time. Obviously, Captain Oates is what is said to have said before he disappeared into the snow. Yeah, this is just an incredible track that is incredibly impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, because I watched the YouTube. There's a video of them playing it live, the choir, and that video is just amazing as well. The way they film it's all filmed in black and white, just so subtly done. It's beautiful. It's really just beautiful.
Yeah.
I play it like daily since I've found this album. It's just on as like a nice walking. Like it's just. I don't know. There's just something about it. Like it's just. From the start of it, it's all very very subtle the way it starts. It just builds with the choir. There's nothing wrong with this song. Like it's an absolutely perfect song. So I'd recommend it to people that don't even like. They wouldn't even like anything heavy because it's not heavy. It's just.
It's melodramatic. It's very melodramatic, and it's very much if you understand like what post is and shoegaze and that aspect of it is. It draws heavily from that world. But then, you know, I don't think like, oh, if you don't like that style or you've never really been a post fan or shoegaze fan, that should put you off. As I don't think it necessarily sits exclusively in that camp either. Yeah. I think it's my recommendation. Like, of the one track you should check out from this album, try this one to sort of see if it gives you that taste, you know? Absolutely. Whereas that's something I knew about, Bogatry, which I think is how it's said. Bogatry? Yeah. This is a story in sort of the Ukrainian world, which is, considering the time of recording, is even more interesting. But it talks about three specific men: Valeria Bezovpolv, Alexei Ananenko, and Boris Baranov, known as the Suicide Squad, who volunteered to sacrifice their lives to open the sluice gates of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant to release the radiated water found in the bubbler pools that would lead to another explosion if it mixed with materials that were found on that part of the plant, causing another disaster. This is, of course, during the Chernobyl period. Suffocating, lost in the murky melodies, the sense of drifting slowly through nothingness is very prominent here. But then the tempo gets a bit peppier as we live through the search for the valve. So one of the things I think this track does really well is express the story that is going on. Something that gets more and more energetic as though the search is getting more desperate and things are getting darker. A little bit claustrophobic. Pure storytelling at its finest. I think this track, while not as enjoyable for me as the first one, I think it does a story better. I get it. I understood it. I pictured it.
I just think that's such a talent as well because...
Oh, yeah.
No, because you can't sing a story. Like, even bands that don't sing in English, there's ways of expressing through different emotions in your voice and stuff like that. But, like, this, you just have to kind of... They take you on that journey.
Yeah.
I say that it's just... It builds the tension and lays up really slowly. And then, like, really, the heavier guitars are at the end, which obviously, like, when it gets to that point of when they've got to release the water. I did read into the actual story that people said it was kind of more of like a legend, where the guys didn't actually die.
Yeah, that's right. Folklore has, it is. It's got. I didn't add. I wrote it, but I actually skipped over saying it because I think as a starting point it confuses the matter. But this is more in folklore than anything else now, in how it's been romanticized to a different degree. It's still an incredible story. It really is. It takes nothing away from that.
The guys actually bothered to go. That actually stepped up to do that because it. They didn't know what it was.
But it was a successful mission.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but still, I think it's incredible.
Of course, really absolutely it is. It's the point of this album, this heroic sort of situation. To put yourself in your shoes.
Yeah.
Would you have done it? You know? The Last Dive of David Shaw. So, this one opens with a lengthy recording, and that recording at the start is the last moments of Australian diver David John Shaw. He's trying to rescue the body of fellow diver Dion Dreyer, who attempted to break the diving record of almost 250 metres, which was a feat which Shaw had previously accomplished. He got stuck while trying to pull the body out of the cave, and a few days later both bodies were found on the surface, so they both ended up drowning and dying. This is a mammoth undertaking, and We Lost the Sea take us on a deep and mournful journey of loneliness. The slow melody of the guitars, the introduction of a cello, the increasing tempo and harder inordinate clash of instruments, leading to a lengthy closing segment that utilises a piano wonderfully. This is succinctly as I can put it, because this track has so much going on. I probably could have written 1,000 words about this track alone, and when you got to do this track by track, you're kind of trying to sum up a track that is this big.
Yeah.
And that was the best I could come up with.
yeah, I feel like if you're doing something like this as well, you've got to be so respectful to, because it is current events. Like obviously,
it's quite current, yeah.
The families of Catch Notes are still probably here, but
it's not quite as yeah.
Because it was on YouTube. Like there's videos of like this dive and stuff like that. He was quite well known for his work. And
yep.
And just the way they've done it is like amazing. I don't know if I was a fan of him, if I could listen. I don't know. It'd be really hard to listen to because what they actually did with it.
Maybe.
But the beginning, though, it's just like hypnotic. The
breathing apparatus, yeah, you know, the sense of bubbles.
Yeah, and when that first stops.
Yeah.
I love that when it just stops and you can picture yourself that it's literally you've gone to the depth you want to get to. I think that's just really gets me. That just that one part of it is like my favourite absolute part, and it does make you feel underwater. I am taken there because you get that initial like okay you're breathing with them and then you just
Again, it's another great example of the tale being encapsulated and what you wanted to portray comes across brilliantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The penultimate track, the fourth track as well, it's only 5 tracks long, is a two-parter. Starts with part 1, and it's Challenger part 1. That's one I feel like you immediately know. It is, of course, about the Challenger disaster, which happened in 1986, taking the life of 7 people, 6 astronauts, and Krista McAuliffe, a teacher, as the space shuttle disintegrated in the air. The voice clip is William S. Burroughs on Dreams. His speech, if you didn't know that. This one is over 23 minutes long. Yeah. And how you're supposed to kind of do this ethereal slab of emotive beauty justice. It's a track that deals with a tragedy that I think is almost beyond comprehension. If it didn't happen in a time, and this is what makes this one different, I think. If it didn't happen in a time where you can view the footage yourself, that's what makes this one more real. Because I think if we didn't have that and you just had to picture in your head spacecraft exploded upon takeoff, or like well, it was going through the air, rising up, as it were, and stuff like that. So, like, that would be beyond comprehension if you weren't capable or able to see the footage yourself. And I actually find this one a hard one to listen to. And I don't know why specifically. I've not got any deeper feelings about the Challenger disaster than I do perhaps some of the other ones. But I think it's because I saw the footage of the crowds of loved ones watching the ship explode as it rose. And I think that kind of stuck with me. And you're kind of like, what must they have felt? And I think We Lost the Sea do a fantastic job of portraying the sadness, the horror, the feeling of lost hope perfectly, while also paying tribute to the brave people on board that literally soared, even if it was only briefly. Yeah. This might be my favourite track in the album because of how drawn out and detailed it feels. How it marries the dream of being space explorers with the sense of doom that the risks... that the risks it came with draw it in. They were here and now they're gone. Yeah. That part of the speech, you know, Ronald Reagan's words as well. Yeah. Yeah, incredible. Yeah.
But I say like the part with like Burroughs talking about dreams and stuff. I really like that. I like the line "We're not there yet." Going to space and stuff. Like the echo "We're not there yet." It's like it's amazing. And I've heard that before about dreams as well. Like people say, look, if you try and see your own hands in your dreams, you can kind of like, or picture something you want to dream about. I think that's really fascinating. But yeah, like you say, it just again it's a good tribute. Like it's not being I'm not taking it just for entertainment. It feels like it's got a real purpose to it. A conclusion to it. And obviously when it was 1986, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1986.
So we wouldn't have remembered it, but obviously when you grow up, you learn about it.
No, absolutely. Way too young.
But yeah, just the horror of it and to do it in a cheap way is credit to this band.
Yeah, there's no question that just to have this conversation, to deal with this events in musical form, even without lyrical, it takes a certain level of skill, a certain level of talent. I think it's really, really difficult. And I think, 23 minutes, they obviously felt like that was how the length of the storytelling and stuff like that. And I'm going to kind of presume as well, maybe earlier on, both Challenger parts were one song, and they were like, no, we perhaps break this down and break it down into something more, particularly as they want to change tacts, as they do with Challenger Part 2, the last track. And this kind of warms the soul with heartfelt melody. And again, it's a tearful, emotional track. And overall, I think that's what I keep coming back to. It's just too emotionally raw. I do love it, and I love this track too. And I'm going to say the words that I said in it. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them. This morning as they prepared for the journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God. That's pretty hefty stuff, And I think, Part 2 really complements Part 1 and is just the kind of perfect goodbye to that story, but also the album.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It was just, like obviously this one song's like the aftermath, isn't it? Saying, like, how you deal with that. And And the speech, the final spell was beautiful, and the final spoken word. And he sort of says just thank you, and it just ends, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
right at the end. It's just very, very final. And I kind of like the way that it would kind of reflect their own. Obviously, this came 2 years after losing their vocalist, their band member, their brother, and it does feel like very personal to them, and also to what the stories they're giving justice to. It feels like they're trying to. That's what they were working through by not having a vocalist and calling it departure songs. It's.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think just everything about it is just perfect, and I hope obviously when they finished the album they were so proud of it, and obviously what their bandmate would have thought of it, the vocalist would have thought of it.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, I would hope. I would hope so. I would hope so. It's a shame, perhaps it's not more well known.
Yeah.
Then, but you know, that's I guess as conversation pieces come around and word of mouth spreads, and even us sitting here doing something like that, if you're watching this and you've never heard it, and hopefully you're encouraged to go listen to it now as well. I do think you need to be in the right state of mind to give this a go. This isn't something you just put on while cleaning the house, that kind of thing,
No,
you know. I'm also not saying I don't think it's necessarily one where you have to sit there and just focus on it. I think
Walking's good.
I think that's something that comes later. I think give it an initial listen, and even if it's background and you're half paying attention to it, stuff will seep through into you, and then you will want to progress and learn more about it as you go on, like that kind of thing. And here's the thing, none of the stories need deeper analysis. If you're beyond a cursory understanding of what's being told, you don't need to bring out books. You don't need to sit there and study up to get what's being portrayed. I think you need to at least have an idea so you can connect and then experience the story that's being told by knowing and understanding certain aspects of it more than that. I think some songs will resonate differently depending upon your life as well, depending upon where you come from, how old you are, what's your background,
what kind of grief you of loss you've gone through.
But I also think it's very important to point out as well that this isn't necessarily all about sadness.
No.
I think that's an important thing, but this is that level of emotion that where you're seeing heroics, you're seeing impressive stuff that may not have been successful. In the case of some of these stories, Challenger, you know, the expedition and stuff like that. But it was still like people rising up and doing something.
People going for it.
Yeah, you know, and that's cool, and that's important as well, because several times throughout I think it has got a hopeful quality too, more than anything else.
And I think again, I'm not keep going back to the guy, like the vocalist, losing their vocalist, but it was kind of them keep going. So obviously there is an element of hope, like the band kept going and keep on making music.
Well, yeah, I mean, because as well, like similar, I guess, to Touche Amore, and obviously the album that's specifically written around his loss of his mother. I think like it's important to do that sometimes, but also to be a line. And draw a line, and it not be like this is what we're going to do going forward completely. And it's like no, maybe this is the line being drawn, and now, this is you know, dealing with your grief and expressing it, and hopefully helping other people along the way. And this is what we produced, and it will be, and it will always be a moment in time, because you'll never be able to capture exactly how you felt on this, particularly after doing something like this. So it should stay as that.
Yeah, I do actually want to buy the vinyl of it.
Okay.
From what I've seen, some of them are really nice packages of all the artwork for each track. It looks amazing. So, but it's a bit of wedge as well, though.
Oh,
so,
really? Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, yeah.
It'll be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Normally we would do top 3 tracks, but this is a 5-track album, so that seems a bit foolish to do that. I would say all of them.
Yeah.
Like I would simply say all of them. They're all amazing tracks in their own right and offer something different. However, we're going to just do top 1. That's it. We're just going to choose one track that I guess would urge you to go listen to. Yeah. And I already said it. I said it when we first covered the track. I said to you, this is the track I urge you to go listen to. Well, I think the best track is actually Challenger Part 1. Yeah. For me personally, A Gallant Gentleman.
Yeah. I think nothing else has same for me. And nothing else has got the same impact. And that was the initial song that I heard. First track I heard was A Gallant Gentleman, and like nothing's kind of got me like that since. So again, and it's the shortest song as well. So
Yeah.
it kind of eases you into.
You'll know if you're going to love it or hate it based off this track.
Yeah,
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
That's Departure Songs by We Lost the Sea. I don't think we could do it justice at all. I don't think many people could do it justice, whether you're writing or speaking about it. Just go listen to it and let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?